talking about nursing and the virtues of
balance and
balance
diligence.
and diligence. So,
There you go.
let's give a warm welcome to Carissa and good luck.
Thank you. All right, so I'm just going to jump right in. So for senior seminar this year, we all had to come up with 2 experiences that we wanted to do for the entirety of the year. So the first one would take place in the fall and the second one in the spring. So for my experiences, the first one was based on virtues, and then the second was based on career. So for my fall experience, I decided that I really wanted to focus on being diligent and being balanced. And it was really difficult to find out what type of thing would best represent that physically. And it was really challenging to come up with something that would really make me be diligent and be balanced. And what I found was that the thing that kept me off balance and lazy most of the time was my social media and television. So I ended up getting all of that off of my phone and my iPad for a whole month. And what I also wanted to find out with this experience was how the condition of society was changed by our social media and the social norms that we think that we must adhere to, and how we can think that it's healthy, but it's actually not, and it's very detrimental to us. So for my spring experience, it was much easier for me to decide that I wanted to focus on nursing. And it was just something that I've been wanting to find out if I wanted to be a nurse for a really long time. I've been thinking about it all year. I'm still not quite sure if that's the path I want to go, but it's looking like that's what it's going to be. But so for my experience, I interviewed Riley Newcomb. She is a woman who goes to my church, and she is also doing nursing now, and she went to the same college as I'm going to and did the nursing program there. So really, her life is kind of what mine would look like in the future. Not exactly, but in the same sort of sense. And so I really wanted to know what nursing from a Christian perspective would look like, and she was just a really good resource for that. Another thing that I did was I went to shadow a nurse at a assisted living home. Unfortunately, though, I didn't do much shadowing or volunteering at all. And it was kind of a bummer, but I think I still learned a lot from it. So the main goal of my fall experience was to get more diligent, be balanced, and have time to rest and relax, and just be at peace also, because I tend to get really anxious about homework and tests and quizzes and things like that. So like I said before, I got rid of all of my social media and television off my iPad. I deleted it and everything. And so I took it off for the whole month of November. And it was really difficult. It surprised me how much I had a hard time doing that. And looking back on it now, I realize how shallow that is. And sadly, that's what our world is like these days. And I wasn't even afraid that I wouldn't remember passwords, I wouldn't have as many followers for some reason. Just really irrational things I was coming up with as an excuse to get out of deleting these things. But eventually I did, and it turned out to be really good for me. And so one of the verses that I read while I was on this time was Psalm 36, verse 10. And it says, "Continue your love to those who know you, your righteousness to the upright in heart." And I think that this kind of encapsulates the reason why we want to stay on social media and only have virtual lives as opposed to living out our real lives. So people can't know us and know the struggles that we go through, and keeping them at an arm's length. And my experience was really difficult for me, and especially when I came home after school and I just had to start working on homework instead of getting out my iPad, watching a couple episodes of my favorite TV show and just brainlessly staring at a screen. And through this experience, I kept noticing more and more how much people are more interested in what they have on their screen than the people that they are with, and how ungenuine they are when they are with people. And I started noticing a lot more people who were doing this as time went on. And it was just interesting to see how much they didn't care. Another reason why I think we tend to go and be on our devices is because we want to escape stress from our lives. And it's just a way that we can sit and not think about the difficult things that we're going through and just exist. And I think that that's another way that we are unable to be focused and connect with each other. And on my club volleyball team, we always have a 15-minute break between our 3-hour practice. And so without fail, every single time, the girls get on their phones and check their status updates and see how they're doing with their social media accounts. And since we don't know each other very well, it didn't surprise me at all to see that. And one of the verses that I really think goes well with this is Romans 12, verse 12, and it says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." And because I was still fasting from my social media and everything, it was really hard for me to resist the urge to get out my phone also and just look at all the things, because that was what everyone else was doing. That was peer pressure and jealousy. And it just reminded me of how much those things really play a part in our lives. And I thought to myself, like, why do we build up our lives and make them seem like they're so much better when we could be doing other things and try to talk with other people and connect on that deeper level? And also, I had realized through this, why had I been spending so much time doing social media and watching television when I could have been doing other things, experiencing so much more, and seeing what the world has to offer. And so this really reminded me of my trip to Mozambique, Africa last summer. And it was a really good experience. Our group took 2.5 weeks, and we went down there, and there was no internet access, no cell phone service, no nothing for 2.5 weeks. And so at first it was really hard to get used to the fact that you couldn't really talk to someone unless they were within shouting distance, and you had to go find people to talk to them. But as a result, our group began to really connect with each other and really understand what it meant to be genuinely interested in someone. And it was also cool because we couldn't just go back to our rooms and be on your phone and just kind of shut down and be away from people. It was, you were with people all the time. And we were building relationships not only with each other, but with people from across the world. And I just thought that that was so cool that we could do that. And I think that social media really stops us from seeing all the struggles that each other goes through. And I think that that's one of the pieces in our lives that we really miss. And if we had more connection with each other and we could see what each other goes through, I think we would have better lives almost. So by the end of our trip, though, it was really strange to talk to people on the phone or even see their lives from a virtual perspective. And now we have a special bond with each other that's not built on social media accounts and seeing what other people do. But it was also really good to see people who couldn't be on social media, and they couldn't hide behind that. They were real with you, and they were who they really are. So for my spring experience, moving on to nursing now, it felt a lot more exploratory rather than reflective. And I really, really wanted to know if nursing would be my career and that I would really love it. And it would be something that I wanted to pursue through my life. So back to my interview with Riley, she gave me a really good perspective on what nursing would be like. And the first question that I asked her in our interview was about death and how that can change your life and can be such a big deal. And what she said was really interesting, and she talked about how you should get friends and family or even the counselor at the hospital that you work with to help you get through these things, but not to brush it off and keep moving like it didn't happen, but to really taken the importance and the significance of that. And she was talking a lot about how getting desensitized to death can be a really big problem for anyone who works closely with death. The next thing that I asked her was her favorite part of nursing. And it was really interesting to see what she said, and it really surprised me. So I'm going to read something that she said to me. She said, "I get to come into these people's suffering, and I get to be part of this time in life for them that is just hard and sucks and is terrible. And it is hard to enter into people's suffering like that. But I also get to be the person who is there with them and walks alongside them and be that hand in making it a little bit better." This struck me a lot. Like, how can that be her favorite thing? And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought of how rewarding that would be. Being the person who could be with someone in possibly the most trivial time of their life. And watching them grow and become a stronger person would be so rewarding. And Isaiah 1, verse 30 through 31 says it really well. And it says, "You will be like an oak with fading leaves, like a garden without water. The mighty man will become the tinder and his work a spark. Both will burn together, and no one to quench the fire." And I love this verse because it kind of takes nursing and makes it even more, makes it more impactful. And people come in with their fading leaves and their garden without water. And I feel like nurses and doctors and whoever's at the hospital can give them life and give them water back to their life. And they are that spark that keeps burning and keeps everything going and alive. So the second part of my experience was my volunteering at Canterbury Gardens. But it was really difficult. When I got there, the other nurses couldn't find the one that I was originally planning on shadowing. So after about a half an hour searching for her, she was finally found. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be great. I'm going to follow her around. I'm going to know the ins and outs of nursing and everything like that. And so we went and we checked one of her new patients into his room, and we got all his meds and stuff, and that took maybe like 10 minutes or so. Then we went back to her office, and I thought she was just going to grab something, or it was going to be a really quick stop in there. But then she sat down at her computer and started doing some charting, and that's what we did for the next hour and a half. And so that was really rough, and coming out of that, I just compared it to what my interview was like and what this experience was like, and how different they really were. And the interview felt more exciting and more like I'm going to do something and impact people's lives and be a world changer. But this felt more like going through the motions and just doing enough to get through and doing what you have to. Didn't feel like going the extra mile, and it felt very distant. So this kind of made me think of what kind of nurse that I want to be. The two paths of being an impactor or being just someone who gets enough done. And I realized how much this actually coincides with my fall experience, because I wanted to be diligent in everything that I did and be balanced. And that's what nursing should be for me, being diligent, working hard, and being that person that can go the extra mile. And I think that Hebrews 6:10, verse 12 says it the best. And it says, "God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love that you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. We want each of you to show this same diligence to the very end, so that you will hope for what you hope for may be fully realized. We do not want you to become lazy, but to imitate those who, through faith and patience, inherit what has been promised." And this verse is just so great because it's basically the job description of a nurse. And not only just helping people, but being diligent in that help and being there for them. So Canterbury Gardens was a good experience, and I'm thankful that it happened. And now I know what two paths I have and what I don't want to be and what I do want to be, and the difference between what that looks like on a major scale. So another part of our experience was choosing some sort of research or reading a book that kind of coincided with our project that we did. And I decided that I was going to do some research on Christian nurses, and I came across Florence Nightingale. Many of you probably have heard that name before. She's a very famous nurse. She was kind of a pioneer in nursing, and she revolutionized the practice a lot. And she also was not only influential on the medical scale, but also on an emotional scale. She was affectionately called the lady with the lamp, because every night she would go around with a lamp, and she would check on her patients and comfort them and be with them through the most difficult part of their life. And she would bring light to those who thought that they were in darkness. And Acts 13, verse 47 says, "For this is what the Lord has commanded us. I have made you a light for the Gentiles, that you may bring salvation to the ends of the earth." And I think this verse is really good because not only can it be about nursing, it can be about anything. It can be about whatever job you might have in the future, whatever job you might have now. And it's just a good reminder that we are Christ followers and we bring light to everyone. And I want to challenge you all with this. I want you to be diligent and work hard and do what you love. Put down your phone every once in a while and connect with the people around you. I know that in this day and age, we think that social media and things like that define us, but they don't. So get out of that box and be the person that you are, and let people know that. Let them know the struggles that you go through, and connect with them. Thank you.
So good job, Carissa. We have some more time. Does anybody have any questions, comments they want to say to her? You can just go ahead.
What
Yeah.
made you originally want to be a nurse?
Well, I just really like science, and I just really like the idea of helping people and changing the world, even if it's just with one person.